Hello, me and Peggy are here to show you how to make a gorgeous Prairie Star ornament. This was going to be our Sparswood Sweethearts Christmas extravaganza this year, but now we're going to be doing it online. So what do we need to make a Prairie Star? We need a whole load of material, very much like last week with our Christmas trees. It's a stash buster, so you can get your material as you want, a big pile of these things, and then use up any sizes, any shapes, not either sizes or shapes, colours that you want. We're going to need a bit of thread to do that as well. We're going to need some scissors. We are going to be measuring a little bit, so a ruler is handy, or something to draw around, like perhaps a coaster, something like that. And we need some toy stuffing for this as well. Now I ran out of toy stuffing, so I butchered a pillow, and this is the inside of a pillow. But anything like that will do. Cotton wool will also work actually inside this, because we're not going to see it at all. We're also going to need another piece of material going for the middle of our Prairie Star, and you're not going to see that. So you can use the other bit of your pillow, the outside bit, a sheet, some calico, anything that's going to make, but we're not going to see it at all. So you don't need to use up your gorgeous material on something like that. You can just use really plain material. And of course, because we're going to be doing some sewing, we are going to need a needle. And our needle is quite a strong one for this, quite a strong, thick needle that we're going to need. Okay, now you can make your Prairie Star in any way. This is a slightly larger one for demonstration purposes, and that's traditional red and green. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you're going to need a button in the middle, and in fact 2 buttons is what you're going to need. So that's quite a large one, but you can make it smaller. And my friend Rachel taught me that Christmas does not have to be red and green. It can be lots of colours like purple and silver and blue. So we have that one as well, and then I also used some lovely bits of material that I had left over there. So any kind of material you're going to want to use up for that. So the first thing we need to do is make a circle of material, and we need 2 of these, and this is the one that you are not going to see. The diameter of this circle is 9 centimetres, and that makes the smaller one, but it doesn't really matter what it is. I will show you how to work out what you need. I drew around the inside of a roll of sellotape for this one, and you need 2 circles. So we need those, and it can be out of any kind of material at all. So prepare your 2 circles and cut them out first of all. That's the first thing we need. Then we need to prepare our squares. Now you'll notice that there are different amounts on here for each one of these. To start with, cut yourself 12. This one has 16, this one has 12, this one only has 9. But 12 is about the average, and cotton does actually work more easily. But when I say cotton, polycotton is fine. With this one, the silk was a little bit difficult to do, a little bit annoying. It's up to you with your bits of material. And again, this is a 9 centimetre square. So you just need to cut lots of those 9 centimetre squares. So 12 will be a good start of whatever colour that you want, and thread up your needle. And that's what we need to do first of all. Now to prepare our squares, we need to do the same fold that we did last week for this one. So we're going to take our square and we are going to fold it corner to corner to have a triangle. We've done that quite a lot of times now. Now, finger press that down when you're going like that, and then again turn from there to there, and you will end up with a triangle. And this is exactly the same as last week. So the top is rough and those 2 edges are good. So I'm just going to show you that again. Corner to corner to make a triangle, and then the other corner to the other corner to make that shape. Another triangle with a rough edge and 2 good edges, because the rough edge will always be covered up, so we're not going to see it. Now, if you feel like it, you can leave it like that. It is quite handy on the Prairie Star to iron them, because you can see that that's popping open, and there's going to be quite an amount of holding when we're doing this. So if you can be bothered to go over to your iron and iron them, it will help you to keep them straight like that. So you then have a big pile of triangles, and I've got red and green triangles that are all ironed down. It works if you don't iron it, that's absolutely fine if you just can't be bothered, but it's a little bit easier if you iron those. So once all that stuff is prepared, we can start sewing. So we're going to put our 2 circles on top of each other, one on top of the other, and then we're going to sew around the edge. Now I have used a big dark ugly thread so that you can see it, but you don't want to. Make it so that it's a white or a grey or something that will blend in. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. So that it will blend in as you're doing it. Now before you start to sew, you need to check your size. We get our triangle and we find an approximate middle of the circle. You are going to be putting that there and folding it over to the other side. So you've got that on one side and that on the other side. Now you're going to have a seam allowance as you go around the edge, but you just need to check that that's about the right size on your circle before you start sewing. Imagine that that's where it's going to go. Will that work? How much seam allowance do you need? Now I've ended up with about 1 centimetre around the edge. Actually I think it's probably about 0.5 centimetre now that I look. But just measure yourself up first and make sure you're going to be getting it right. And then we're going to sew around the edge. Now, if you are a confident sewer who has done a lot of sewing, then you can do a back stitch. If I just hold that up there for you to see that that's how the back stitch will be. If you are not a confident sewer, flip back, because in the summer we did a whole session on how to do back stitch. If you're really not confident, you can do a little running stitch all the way around. But whatever it is, you need to sew all the way around the edge. I can just show that we've got that there. And leave a gap for turning. So when you get to there, you need to tie off your knot so that you haven't gone all the way around, and then turn it inside out. What you're aiming to do is to make a little flat circle. So then you need to push your toy stuffing inside, but not much. We're not looking for a big fat cushion here. We're just looking for a circle, a little padded circle. And if you notice, it's not even a circle, because when I closed up that gap by just over sewing it like that, it's made it square. It doesn't matter, because this is all going underneath and you are not going to see it. That's what's making it quite thick like that, padded out, but you're not going to see this at all. So you need to go around it. If you find the whole turning out thing difficult, then just don't bother, sew all the way around. It doesn't matter, you will end up with something that you are not going to see. Now that was all with a normal little sewing needle, and that was fine. Now I do recommend that you switch at this point to a nice big long needle with a nice sharp point, and also that you thread up your needle double threaded. Okay. So I'm just pulling that one off because it isn't double threaded in that case. But if you, in fact, I'm going to show you how to do a double threaded one. So in this case, you now want to switch to a thread which is going to blend in with your colours. Now, obviously, if you've got red and green, you can't do both, so share one of them. You still won't be seeing this really at the end. So you get your thread, and it needs to be long. So cut yourself a nice long thread. I'm just going to do the thing where you put it into your mouth. Thread that up so that it goes through. Catch the other end in your hand so that we've now got 2 levels of thread together. And tie your knot on the end. And your knot does need to be quite secure here, because in a minute you're going to be pulling quite hard. And you don't want your knot coming out, and you don't want your thread breaking. So that's why it's handy to have a double thread here on this one. Now you can carefully measure the centre, or you can guess. I'm going to guess. And I'm going to stick this through here, okay, right the way through, and pull. So it's now holding it like that, okay, and it's quite strong. I'm going to get my triangle, which is already ironed in this case. Again, doesn't matter if it's not absolutely perfect. That one's quite ragged on one side, doesn't matter. I'm going to put it on one side of the centre and pull it along. So one side looks like that and the other side looks like that. It's the same on both sides here as we're going through. And then I am going to push all the way through with my needle, just holding it with one stitch at this point. Don't keep going backwards and forwards because it will make it too much in the end. Just hold it with one stitch, and then that's like that. You're then going to get your next one, which in this case is going to be a green one next to it. Put that next to it and it will cover up the rough edge. Now it's up to you at this stage, all the way through, whether you want to have them really close up next to each other or whether you want to have them a little bit further apart. It's up to you, it just gives you a different sort of look. And then you're going to come back through the whole thing. Now, as you go through, that green material is actually quite thick. And as you go through, you are ending up with quite a lot of material to push through. So, did you see what I did? I used the table to help me as I push it through, because it is actually quite hard to pull through. You can see that that's really quite hard to pull through, and that's the green material. The green material does have that. So you've got it next to it, and when you're holding it like that, you can then adjust it where you want it to pull out a little bit or sit right next to it. And then we're going to get another one, and we're going to put that on top, and we're going to do that, and we're going to keep going all the way around until you've gone right to the end. The last one, just tuck underneath so that it will fit in between, and tie that off. Now your middle will look untidy, and I deliberately left this one to show you because this material was super gorgeous and I wanted to use it, but it was also very frayy. And you can see that the centre is really quite untidy there, and that's why you want to have your button. Now if your fingers are hurting from doing all that sewing and pushing through, then get out your glue gun. Okay, this is where a glue gun would be really super handy. Get out your glue gun and use that to stick that on. Or if you still want to do a bit of sewing, you can sew through. With the original one, I did sew it and fitted it through like that. You can double up your button just for a bit of fanciness to look good there. Change it around however you want it to look. That was a tiny button in the middle, that was a giant button in the middle. It's however you want it to look. In order to hang it up, you then just need to put a little thread through and tie a loop on it so that you can hang it like that. And that gives you a lovely Prairie Star ornament. Say 16 on this one, but less on these ones. And it looks really, really nice. They're also nice presents to make for people. They will go through the post, they're quite light. And they will look really nice hanging on your Christmas tree. Whatever your choice of colours that you want to do for that, that will look really nice. And I hope you enjoy making your Prairie Star ornaments, and you join us for some more Christmas fun very soon. Bye.